uh, in the bigger picture of things, what are the things that really, basically, in a way, what kept the Beach Boys from being the Beatles?
Yeah. That's,
You
yep.
know,
Yep.
that's a huge, huge question. But I think I've got the answer. I really do.
All right.
I I think number one, I think they fired Murray a year too soon. Um, they hired two CPAs who were former FBI agents, Cummins and Current, that were not music business people. Now Murray had flaws, but he was dedicated to the boys. It was
Mm,
his sons. It wasn't just another act. It wasn't just another 10%. It was his son. It was his nephew. It
yeah.
was his neighbor. So I think had he stayed another year, I think that would have been helpful.
Wow.
Another thing that I think would have been helpful in looking back at it in 1969, they never, ever should have left Capitol Records. And I'll tell you the reason for that.
Huh.
When they went to Warner Brothers, they were the new kids on the block. They were going to Warner Brothers at a time when the music scene was changing. James Taylor was hot. Hendrix was happening. Uh, Moby Gray, Beautiful Day, Big Brother and the Holding Company, Janis Joplin, Salmon and Garfunkel. All these acts are coming on the scene. All these counterculture groups are coming on the scene. And the Beach Boys are still thought of by a lot of people as the guys in the white pants and the striped shirts.
Right.
They're like the establishment, and all these other acts are the counterculture. The problem with going to Warner Brothers, not that it wasn't a great label. I love Warner Brothers. I think Mo Austin is one of the greatest label executives of all time. I mean, he's right up there with Al Corey at Capitol, who I worked with, and Ahmet Ertegun at Atlantic Atco, and I mean, these guys are legendary record guys, and
Mm-hmm.
I was honored to work with Mo. But the problem with doing Sunflower and dropping Sunflower, putting Sunflower out in 1970, is the fact that they were the new kids on the block. They
Mm.
didn't have the loyalty of the sales and marketing team. They didn't have the loyalty of
Hmm.
the people that they had been a part of, that people had helped establish them as an iconic group. And the other big thing, and this is strictly financial, but if you think about it, this is maybe the bigger reason. Warner Brothers didn't have anything on the line because they didn't own the Beach Boy catalog.
Mm.
They didn't
Hmm.
own all those great albums like Pet Sounds.
Right.
They didn't have Today. They didn't have Summer Days, Summer Nights. They didn't have Surfing USA. You know, they didn't have the party album. They didn't have the live album. They had no catalog. They had no incentive for really pulling out all the stops and pushing the Beach Boys
Right.
and as the number one group that they deserved to be. So that's the second reason. And finally, the third reason is not playing the Monterey Pop Festival in
Mm.
September of 1967.
Yeah.
You've got to remember the time. All you Beach Boy diehards out there, you've got to look at the time. In December of 1966, when the New Musical Express, the number one consumer music magazine, the Rolling Stone of England, so to speak, they do a poll, and the Beach Boys beat the Beatles
Mm-hmm.
as the number one act in the UK. They beat them. So they're going into that, and that's 66, huge year, and then 67 is the Monterey Pop, which they didn't play. Brian and McCartney were on the frickin' board of directors with
Right.
with John Phillips and Lou Adler, and both the Beatles and the Beach Boys passed. They don't play the festival. Can you imagine had they been upstage doing the newer music, during that period? Kicking it off. Not only have they come off of a number one record, Good Vibrations, but
Yeah.
they're starting to get into deeper music. They're starting to do the heroes and the villains and all this great stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They would have fit right in. They wouldn't have had to play oldies. whether they were going to get booed off the stage for doing fun, and help me run it, that doesn't matter because they would have had all this new wealth of material. It would have blown the kids away.
Yeah.
And so those are the three things. Murray left too early. Warner Brothers wasn't into it. They just didn't have that fighting spirit because they didn't own the catalog. And the Beach Boys didn't do Monterey Pop in September of '67.